January 14th, 2013 school board meeting for the Lewisville Board of Trustees. I would like to announce that a quorum is present. The meeting has been duly called, and notice of the meeting has been posted in accordance with Texas Open Meetings Act. We will now convene into closed session as authorized by Texas Government Code, Section 551, specifically 551.071, 072, 074, and 082, and the time is 6:03. Good evening, everyone. The time now is 7:01, and we will now reconvene into open session. Would you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. Welcome to the first meeting of the year for the LASD Board of Trustees. Woohoo! 2013. Can you believe it? No. Thank you, Ms. Duke. We need to consider items discussed in closed session now.
Madam
Ms. Car-
President, I move that all personnel recommendations be approved as presented by administration.
That's a motion, Ms. Foudy. A second, Ms. Duke. All in favor? That is unanimous. Moving on to awards, recognitions, and presentations. Dr. Waddell.
Thank you, Ms. Kyer. This is January, therefore it's Texas School Board Appreciation Month, and we do this every year, and it's fitting we begin the year by recognizing those individuals who volunteer to serve the kids of our district, and we appreciate you very much, and you mean a great deal to our community, and I personally want to say my own thanks. What a great board you all are. I have a resolution here that I want to read. Whereas the mission of the public schools is to meet the diverse educational needs of all children and empower them to become competent, productive contributors to a democratic society in an ever-changing world. And whereas local school board members are committed to children and believe that all children can be successful learners and that the best education is tailored to the individual needs of the child, and whereas local school board members work closely with parents, educational professionals, and other community members to create the educational vision we want for our students. And whereas local school board members are responsible for ensuring the structure that provides a solid foundation for our school system, and whereas the local school board members are strong advocates for public education and are responsible for communicating the needs of the school district to the public and the public's expectations to the district. Now, therefore, I, Dr. Stephen F. Waddell, Superintendent of Schools, do hereby declare my appreciation to the members of the Lewisville Independent School District Board and proclaim the month, wow, what power, of January 2013 as School Board Recognition Month. I urge all citizens to join me in recognizing the dedication and hard work of local school board members and in working with them to mold an education system that meets the needs of both today's and tomorrow's children. And you're going to get a copy of this right after you come out here and get your picture taken for School Board Appreciation Month, and we'll pass these certificates out to you. And if you all don't mind joining with me in applauding our school board here in LISD. You see these capes on their chairs. They were flying around the boardroom earlier in the afternoon. You missed that. It's pretty impressive.
state band recognition, Marcus High School and Hebron High School. Woohoo! Mr. Watson.
President Kyer, Board of Trustees, and community. We're very thankful to be able to come today and recognize the amazing achievements of these two band programs. Could we have the Hebron band representatives come up, please? While they're coming up, first of all, I'll introduce the directors. I'll tell you about what they've done. First of all, this isn't, just like with Marcus and Hebron both, this isn't just a sudden thing. Hebron, in its short existence, has been to the state marching contest 5 times. And I think those have all come within the last 9 years. And they've made the state finals the last 3 times. And they also made the finals of virtually every regional that they've been in, and their concert band a couple years ago was first in the state. So some great things are going on, and we have 48 all-state LISD band, orchestra, and choir students as well. So this isn't an aberration, but the Hebron band was second in the state, and this is their highest placement, and it was just an amazing performance by all. I want to introduce the directors, and then I want them to introduce the students that they brought today. The directors are Andy Seeley, Luis Saldana, Dimitrios Ikosipentaros, sorry about that, Scott Baldwin, and Kevin Nix, who's our director of color guard. And Mr. Seeley, if you come introduce the students.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're very honored to be here and want to present these very fine young students to you. First of all, our color guard captain, this is Miss Jade Connor. One of our senior drum majors, this is Shindy Liu, and she plays oboe in her spare time. This is Kinsey Dunham, and she's also a senior, and she plays trombone in her spare time. This is Rahul Dadwani, and Rahul was a senior and our lead drum major. He's also an oboe player. And this is Matt Runyon, and he's our percussion captain. And these represent, along with about 3 other students that are our primary band officers, and they did a terrific job. Thanks, kids.
We do have some administrators here. If you're from Hebron High School administration or any parents, please stand up. Thank you for your support. Our next group, can we please have the Marcus High School band representatives come up, please? While they're coming up, just like Hebron, this is not a surprise or an aberration. It's something that's been developed over the years. This is the 5th time that Marcus has been in the state marching contest, and it's consecutive from 2004 up to today, or this year. And it's the 4th time that they have been in finals. And the one thing that has never happened before is the 4th time in a row that Marcus High School Band has been the state champions. I'm going to introduce the directors. Amanda Drinkwater, Dominique Talanka, David Simon, Kenan Wiley, and John Leonard, our color guard director. The Amanda, Dominic, David, and Kenan have been here for all 4. Mr. Leonard's been here for the last 2, and we'd like you to come and introduce your students.
Dr. Waddell and school board and Mr. Watson and community, we're so honored to be here, and it brings us particular joy to share this evening with our very good friends from the Hebron High School Band. Our students represented tonight here, we have Miss Abby Gregory, she's a piccolo player and one of our drum majors, Miss Amanda Wang, an oboist and another drum major, Daggy Lee, alto saxophonist and drum major, Zach Kahn, alto saxophonist and woodwind captain, Peter Riojas, a percussionist and our percussion captain, Scott Van Gundy, French horn player and drum major, Cody Roan, euphonium player and brass captain, Sarah Jones, French horn player and drum major, Kendall Clyde, she is our color guard captain. Thank you, students. Congratulations.
If we have any parents or administrators from Marcus High School, could you please stand up? Thank you for your support as well.
I don't generally make comments following presentations, but I just want to say that this is such a unique event. Seeing this, what Marcus Band has done has never been done in the history of Texas, and only once before in the history of Texas has a school district been first and second. And to experience this is one of the highlights of my career and life, to be down there and experience, first of all, watch these young people perform so brilliantly. And you can't imagine the pressure that's on them as they come out. And there were 38 bands that made state, and each one that made them were outstanding. And for the untrained eye, they're also brilliant. You go, how do you differentiate these? But our 2 bands were brilliant coming out on the field, making the finals. They had to do it again that evening with 10 bands who were picked in the final part. And to be that incredible artistically and to stand up against that kind of pressure is an awesome thing to watch. When they call the winners, they only call the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st place in that order with the drum majors on the field. And the drama at that time is unbelievable. And Bill and I were up there between the two bands who were sitting up front, sitting in the stands at the Alamo Dome, and they call the third place band, and you've got two bands in there. There's only two places left, and you know better than to dream. You want to, and you knew they were good, but to dream that they would call first one of your bands, and then the second is almost too much to ask for. They called the Hebron band. Everybody went nuts, including the Marcus kids. And then they called the Marcus band, and that is just, it was so extraordinary. And to experience that was just, I wished everybody here and could have been there and got a chance to witness that, because we may never see such a thing again. Well, we may, maybe next year, except we may get first, second, and third. Anyway, it's just remarkable. We have a brilliant fine arts program in this district. And one thing I was going to say about the Hebron band, they announced that near midnight. I know the kids didn't leave until after midnight that night. The next night I went out for the homecoming celebrations at Hebron, and the Hebron band was up in the stands playing. They'd hardly had any sleep, but up there and they're playing. You wouldn't have known what had happened. So anyway, I just wanted to make a note of that, Madam President, because this was such an amazing and unusual event. So congratulations once again to these guys.
Well, thank you, sir. Moving on to our public hearing on 2011-12 Academic Excellence Indicator System, AEIS report. Dr. Riddell.
Madam President, board members, Dr. Waddell, I am pleased to give you this report this evening. First of all, this is a different kind of report from the one that we've had in the last few years, because we're in this transition period between TAX and STAR. And so the 2012 rating for the district is recognized because last year we were recognized and there is not a new rating. And so TEA has announced that we, are recognized both for 2011 and 2012, so that would give us 4 years in a row as a recognized district. In years gone by, we would have seen tax scores for all of our students in grades 3 through 10 and 11. And this year, you'll be seeing tax scores only for 10th grade and 11 because our students transitioned to STAR test in grades 3 through 8. And then in 9th grade, students took the EOCs, the end of course exams. And so the scores that are being displayed this evening are tax only. It is normal, or at least regular, that our 10th grade students, for whatever reason, do not seem to take this test as seriously as the 11th grade students. The 10th grade students think that they have a year free, and so they tend to do whatever they want to in the 10th grade, and then 11th grade, they pretty much knock the socks off of it. So you'll see that that happens this year as well. You'll notice that we have one score that maintained, and you'll see we have 2010, 11, and 12. One score that maintained, 4 scores decreased from 2011 to 2012, and 4 of these scores remain in the 90th percentile range. Only one of them dropped below 90, and that was an 89%. For 10th grade mathematics, we had 5 scores decrease between 2011 and 2012. In science, we had 5 scores also decline between 2011 and 2012. We're never happy with this, you understand. And so we have been working, whether it was STAR or TAX, to increase this for this current year. In social studies, 2 scores maintained, 3 scores dropped from 2011 to 2012, and all scores remain in the 90th percentile. In 11th grade reading ELA, 5 scores declined from 2011 to 2012. However, all scores remain in the 90th percentile range. For mathematics, we had 2 scores that maintained and 3 scores that declined. And again, all scores remain in the 90th percentile, or percentage. For social studies, we had, for 11th graders, 1 score increase, 1 score maintain, 3 scores declined, and all scores remain in the high 90th percent ranks. In science, 5 scores either increased or maintained from 2011 to 2012, and all scores remain in the 90th percentage range. This year we had commended scores that were combined for 10th and 11th grades, and there was no way that we had that same opportunity to combine scores. So the AEIS report this year gave us only 10th grade and 11th grade scores for 2012. So we don't have a comparison available between last year and this year. The next charts that we'll talk about will be the graduation or completion rate for 4-year completers and the annual dropout rates. You'll notice that we have the years 2008, 9, 10, and 11. We have 2011 reported in the 2012 report. This is one of the indicators that always is reported 1 year later. So you'll notice across all of the 15 scores, we had 11 of 15 improve in the completion rate, and you'll see in the red notation areas that dropped. In our annual dropout rate, this is where you want the score to be lower every year rather than higher. And so you'll notice that our scores decreased or maintained in 12 of 15 groups overall over the 4-year period. And you'll notice that we had increases for all students, African American, Hispanic, and white, with a increase on economically disadvantaged. In college and career readiness data, you'll see that we have years 2007 through 11. This is another indicator that is reported in 2012 with 2011 data because of when the data becomes available. You'll notice that we had some decreases in 2011 SAT, increases in the average ACT. And what's interesting is that if you look at the scores for all students, LISD in 2011 scored at 1,079, and the state average was 976. So we are well above the state average. So on the ACT, our all students group scored at 23.8, and the state average was 20.5. That doesn't sound like a lot of numbers, but that is a big difference. In our advanced placement, there are 2 things that we track very carefully. The first is, are we always increasing the percentage of students who are taking our tests? Because we want to make sure that we are always having more children enroll in and take the AP tests. And then the other item is that we look at the number of students, or the percentage, excuse me, of students who score at or above criterion. And this means that they make a 3, 4, or 5 on the AP test, which gives them college credit. And so you will see that our scores increased, the percentage of students tested increased in each of the areas. Economically disadvantaged is a group that is not reported out by AP. And then you will notice that we had a 1 a .1 difference for all students, with that 79.1 being LISD's all-student group. The average for AP is 45.2 for the state of Texas, and we are scoring at 79.1%. We are testing 31.5% of the students, and the state is testing 24% of the students. These are remarkable scores. For our college-ready graduates, this is where our students are gauged by their proficiency in English and in math. And you can see that our scores have risen steadily through the years. You'll notice in particular that our English all students group scored 82% of the students being college-ready graduates. The state is 64%. In math, we're scoring at 83% as well, and the state math score for college readiness is 67%. Once again, we are significantly ahead of the state. Lewisville ISD has been in the process, of course, as you know, of our strategic design implementation this year. Last year we spent the majority of the year creating our strategic design, which you have approved, and we are now implementing. And so what you have just seen are tax scores that will next year be STAR scores. What's interesting about STAR is that our legislature has already said that the 15% rule for EOCs has now been removed. And our legislators are very much in the point of view saying that we are over-testing and underestimating how we should help our students. And so because we have the opportunities, Lewisville ISD, not only to be working with strategic design, but also to be working with the Texas High Performance School Coalition, we believe that we are moving in a direction that is going to give us a much better way for us to serve our students in the many years to come. And so we're very proud that we have this opportunity and that we're at the forefront of leading this with the state of Texas. And so for us, the bottom line really goes back to our missions, our vision statement, which says, of course, all of our students enjoy thriving, productive lives in a future they create. What questions would you like to ask?
I don't really have a question, just that's a lot to be proud of with our district, not, with our students' abilities, but with our teaching staff and our administrators and the changes that we've been through this last few years and just improving, and congratulations. That is wonderful for our kids. Thank you.
Our principals, our assistant principals, our teachers are magnificent, and we are most blessed.
I think the board is satisfied with your report. Appreciate it. Thank you very much, Doctor.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on to hear requests to address the board. I believe I have 9 cards. So moving, persons desiring to address the Board of Trustees must fill out a speaker's card prior to the meeting. No presentation shall exceed 3 minutes. The board cannot deliberate on any subject that is not included on the agenda. And you'll see up on the screen that we have our 3-minute clock so that the speaker is aware of their time and what is left. I think when it gets down to 10 seconds, it starts flashing red. So please keep an eye on the clock and your time, please, because there's nothing worse than me having to cut you off. So the first card I have is Mr. Dan Leal from the Children's Advocacy Center, Denton County.
be the Executive Director of the Children's Advocacy Center for Denton County here in Lewisville. Just wanted to give you a quick, brief information about what we do and also talk about partnership with the school district in terms of prevention. The Advocacy Center's mission is to provide justice and healing for severely abused children through interagency collaboration and community education. Our Advocacy Center serves the most severely abused children in Denton County and the surrounding area, most of which who have been suspected of having been sexually abused. Last year in 2012, we conducted 745 forensic videotaped interviews of new children who were brave enough to tell, and conducted over 9,000 free counseling services. These were all-time highs for our agency. Most of what the Advocacy Center does takes place after abuse has happened. We work alongside law enforcement, Child Protective Services, the District Attorney's Office, sexual assault nurse examiners, and our staff as a team to provide justice and healing. The results we've seen have been improved conviction rates in our county and holding offenders accountable, and many children who have gone on to live healthy and productive lives after having healed from child sexual abuse. What we're doing now at the Advocacy Center is we're also trying to prevent this and educate. In 2009, a young lady named Jenna Quinn, who actually lives in the Lewisville ISD portion of Carrollton and was sexually abused, she and I approached Representative Tan Parker about writing a law that would require school districts to have a policy in their district improvement plan about child sexual abuse education of parents, teachers, and students. That law passed unanimously and was named after Jenna, called Jenna's Law, in 2009. And in 2011, that law was expanded to include charter schools and child cares, and to make sure that we all had evidence-based curriculum in terms of how this information was provided and educated to educators. Just want to offer that the Advocacy Center provides that education free of charge. We have 2 staff members who are trained to provide this education to adults, teachers, and the like about how to recognize and report abuse. We have 2 curriculums, one called Stewards of Children, and then we have a shorter curriculum called Recognizing and Reporting. And we just very much like to offer that free of charge to LISD and partner with the school district. Our statistics say that for every 1 adult trained, 10 children are kept safer. And I truly believe that we can do this wonderfully in partnership with you. And in conclusion, I just want to say that we'd like to invite school board members and school staff to come for a tour of the Advocacy Center at a time that's convenient for you. In addition, there will be a very convenient time this Thursday from 5 to 7. Lewisville Chamber of Commerce is having Chamber Night Out at the Advocacy Center, and we'll be offering tours free of charge. I thank you for your time, and thank you for your service to the children of Denton County.
Dan, before, don't you have a big event coming up next month?
Yes, we also have our Champions for Children Gala on February 23rd at Circle R Ranch, and hope to have over 700 people in attendance at that event to raise funds for the Advocacy Center so we can continue to provide justice and healing.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you. Moving on, well, Mr. Todd Smith.
I would like to make a few of the facts clear regarding the designs and costs of Flower Mound High School's 9th grade center. If you went back to the plans presented by your architect on 5/14 and approved by your charrette committee, which were stated as their best plan, you would not have to rebuild the baseball stadium or the indoor practice facility. This best plan called for the 9th grade center to be built on the west side of Flower Mound High School. You were presented with multiple design options for this west side location. Obviously, this west side location was identified early as the best location for the 9th grade center. However, you conceded to the Wellington Homeowners Association when they complained that this location would cause several of their homeowners to lose an estimated 10% of their value. You then moved the 9th grade center to the east side of the campus and caused a domino effect, resulting in the need to rebuild all of the sports facilities on the campus except for the football stadium. Thus, if you went back and chose that best plan, you would only have to spend $2 million that was stated as needed to renovate both the softball stadium and the tennis courts. This would be a savings of $9.5 million of the $11.5 million sports facility cost. I have not heard anywhere with the baseball stadium, indoor practice facility, or the football fields, practice fields are in desperate need of renovating. Without parking modifications, those designs also show that the softball stadium and the tennis courts could stay in their same location. This could be done by eliminating the proposed new parking around the football stadium and taking the newly acquired property across Peters Colony and making it a parking lot. not just parking for the current sports facility, but use the entire property. This would be daily parking for the students, not just extra parking for the 6 home football games a year. The homeowners that back up to this property have already stated to you that they agree with this option. A covered footbridge over Peters Colony could be added at a cost of $500,000 to give the students unobstructed and safe access directly into the north entrance of Flower Mound High School. You could also incorporate a drop-off loop that dropped the students at the covered footbridge. And the Town of Flower Mound's Traffic Department and Planning and Zoning have already stated that this would not be a problem for them. Implementing all of this would save LASD $9 million. And the $450,000 that, Ms. Kyer, you were so upset about spending on the option 2E last meeting for the new sports facility, you could allocate it to the 15 or so Wellington homeowners and allow them to recoup their estimated 10% property value loss, still saving $9 million. This is a great deal, a wish list for Flower Mound High School, but a horrible deal for the remainder of LASD students, and specifically the schools that, Mrs. Kyer, you said desperately need renovations. The bond states that this money was funded for the 9th grade centers only, not 50% of it towards building new sports facilities. Your bond committee reminded you of that fact on October 8th. I just dropped $9 million in your lap, so don't get upset with our group because it is costing you $450,000 to appease us based on the poor decisions you have already made. It's costing you $9 million to appease Wellington. You can still make it right.
That's it, sir. Thank you. Moving on. Betty Mobbs.
Good evening. I'm still scared. I just need to express for my husband and I how this sports complex has upset our lives. And we feel after 46 years as a taxpayers, at least we could have been notified of the sports field. We have shed blood, sweat, and tears on our home. It would be very tough to relocate or stay and have noise and traffic until 11 o'clock. We are 75 and we do not stay up that late. We're in bed sometime before 9. Royce and I want to thank Todd Smith for all the work that he has done, effort he has done for all of our neighbors and us. And thank you very much. Please reconsider. I don't know if I could even pack move if I had to. So, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, ma'am. Stephanie McQueen.
Todd Smith expresses my opinion on the sports complex in his report. He gives you everything you want, all the facilities, the 9th grade center, at a savings of $9 million. Many taxpayers believe you are not fulfilling your fiduciary responsibility to the children and community you serve. $9 billion could be spent on schools that are in need of physical improvements. Instead, you're tearing down athletic fields and rebuilding them 1,000 feet away. You are essentially requiring taxpayers to spend $9 million for what they already have. Help schools that are in such dire need and contribute to the education of students. Or consider an alternate idea. Reach out to every school in the district and invest $9 million on improvement of security measures that would ensure the safety and well-being of our children. Help protect them from potential attack from mentally deranged individuals.
Thank you. Tracy Elrod from CoServe. There she is.
Good evening. I'm Tracy Elrod with CoServe, and I'm here with Oscar Martinez from our communications department. We are here just to drop off our capital credit check that we give. If you're not familiar with our capital credits, basically they are funds that our board of directors can decide to retire at the end of the year. And this year we've retired a little over $95,000 to the Lewisville Independent School District. So thank you so much for what you do, and thank you for having us.
Thank you, Tracy. We always like getting money. Boy, mine was $75. But then again, I don't want the electric bills for the school district, so I'm okay. Thank you. The next card I have is Stacy Amick. I hope I said that right.
Good evening, Dr. Waddell, members of the school board. My name is Stacy Amick, and I'm speaking to you tonight on behalf of Speak Up for Texas Public Schools. We are an organization formed by parents in LISD in response to growing concern about the issues facing our public schools. Specifically, we seek to educate citizens in the community about the harm caused by excessive testing, voucher proposals, and inadequate funding of our public schools so that they, in turn, will make their voices heard to our lawmakers in Austin. Our group began formation in November, and already we have a fast-growing base of support. Additionally, we have joined over 30 similar organizations across Texas in a coalition that shares the same mission and is working to support legislation that de-emphasizes high-stakes standardized testing, opposes any kind of voucher proposal or attempt at privatization, and that promotes proper and equitable funding of our public schools. We would like to bring to your attention and cordially invite you and all the community members to attend a public forum on January 23rd featuring speakers from Texas Advocating for Meaningful Student Assessment, TAMSA, and Texas Kids Can't Wait. These speakers will give the audience an overview of the issues, and there will be time allotted for questions and answers. There are 3 opportunities that day to attend the forum: 9:30 a.m. right here at the Bolin Center, 12 p.m. at Career Center East, and 7 p.m. at the Student Services Administration Building. And I do have just a few flyers. We wish to commend Dr. Waddell on being very proactive about these issues, as well as you, the school board, for your support. We're proud of the hard work being done on the strategic design process in the Texas High Performing Consortium, and how our leadership has been striving to work collaboratively with the community to reach new goals. We're very fortunate to live in a district that strives to maintain excellence in spite of the difficulties imposed by overreaching state law. It's time that we, as a community, speak up to our lawmakers so that your hard work is no longer hindered and before harm comes to our students as a result of damaging legislation. Thank you for your support.
Thank you, ma'am. Paige Chauvin. Good evening, Paige.
All right, we've made it to action items, so I guess you probably know what I'm going to talk about. It's the 3rd month in a row, and it is the intra-district transfer policy. Once again, like it for the most part. I did notice that we did add on the moving during the school year. We added those 4th graders and 7th graders in. Thank you, guys. But I would still like to see it added in on the rezoning. I think that that's really important on rezoning schools. At that elementary school level, most of them have been there at least 3 years. I'd like to see the incoming 4th graders and 5th graders be allowed to stay instead of just the incoming 5th graders. And at the middle school, once you've started a middle school, I don't think you should have to pull out of a middle school. That age group is just too out there anyway. So I would like to see that added in, if at all possible, tonight before we vote. I think I did hear last month when, was it Mr. Burnett that was talking about this, or Mr. Rogers? I don't remember. But that they said that we could leave it at 5th grade and 7th grade, but the board could then direct. But the board's going to do what's in the policy. So if we fix the policy, then that'll help that procedure going down further in the line. So in general, like I said, I think it's a great policy. Just would like to see those few extra grades added in so that we can take care of those children. And then challenge if redistricting is needed, that we are proactive enough that we see that those grade levels are going to need to be redistricted an extra year in advance. So then we don't have to upset as many families. So thank you, and I hope it goes through, and if we could just add those 2 extra grades, it would be really good. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, I'm going to Seville Candace, Candas. Is that right? Seville. Okay.
Good evening. Hello, Dr. Waddell. Happy New Year, distinguished board members. My name is Seville Condis, and I'm the founder of a brand new parent group. It is called the Gifted and Talented Parent Support Group of Castle Hills in the greater Lewisville area. I'm here basically tonight just to talk about scholarships that are sponsored each year by the Texas Association of the Gifted and Talented, and we are affiliated with this organization. First off, I will tell you what the deadlines are and which scholarships fit which age groups and so forth, and how to get information on this. The first scholarship I want to tell you about is for gifted children from kindergarten through 12th grade. It is called the TAGT Summer Scholarship. It is for any gifted student who is interested in an academic or artistic camp during the summer, and the limit is $400, and you need to write an essay, and don't worry about being a perfect writer. If you are a gifted senior, there is the Laura Allard Future Vision Scholarship and the Adele McClellan Scholarship. You need to choose one or the other, but not both to apply. And you need to be a good writer for this one as well. There's also the Summer Math Institute Scholarship for this 3-week residential program with an intense focus on mathematics. It is for grades 6th through 10th grade, and there are 2 full scholarships valued at $2,200 per scholarship. This one is sponsored by the Texas Academy of Mathematics Science at the University of North Texas. So that is for 6th through 10th graders. Now, where can you get all this information? You can find it online at the TAGT's website, which is txgifted.org. That's txgifted.org. That is TAGT's website. The deadline for this is March 1, so you have 7 weeks. This is why I'm here tonight, to let everyone know. And I am Seville, I'm the founder, and you can find our organization's information on that very same website as well. And I hope to come back another time to introduce to you the rest of our parent support group. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. And our last card is David Thompson.
They're kind of shy. Actually, I'm the shy one. Madam President, Dr. Waddell, I'm Dr. Dave Thompson. I'm part of the school psych department here at Lewisville, and I want to introduce to you some other cohorts of mine that we want to bring to you some more of an information item. We have Dr. Cheney, Dr. Reed, Dr. Key, Dr. Eustace, Dr. Fredrickson, and Dr. Stewart here. Part of the psych department that we wanted, like I said, bring a bit of information to you. One of our concerns is that part of the salary petition that you decided on last year, one of the items in that was that we're concerned that I had a speech all prepared and I didn't look down at my notes, so I'm sorry. Now, if somebody wants to step in here, that would be great. So I know my time is ticking. But basically what our concern is that there's an information that we've petitioned to TESBET to reevaluate our salary that you've negotiated with. And part of that is we feel that some of the services we offer you may not be aware of. And we do offer a lot of consultation. We do a lot of evaluations in the district, a lot of AU evaluations. We do a lot of things behind the scenes that you may or not be aware of. Some of us filed a petition and the appeal, and we would like for you to review that. I'm not sure you were aware of it yet, and it might be coming to your attention in the next few months or so. So we just want to bring it to you ahead of time. And if there's some things about that you're not sure of what we do, we would more than welcome to have you contact us. Just the kind of things we do. A lot of our work is done behind the scenes. We do work with families and students that are really emotionally troubled and things like that. So we do a lot of interventions that do not see the light of day. And so we simply want to bring that to your attention and just have you be aware of that. Did I miss anything else? I know I rambled on. Okay. All righty. Thank you very much, Dr. Waddell. Madam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all to our speakers. Now we're going to move on to the informational items of our board agenda. The first one, the LISD Strategic Design. Dr. Haynes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, and the superintendent. We have a rather abbreviated report because we actually got some Christmas break, holiday break, so our group did focus in a couple of areas. Our Inside LISD Community Group, this group is consists of our community members who meet once a month to learn more about the district. And in December, the group focused on our fine arts, which was a representative sample that we saw tonight. And they were also able to see some outstanding programs. And Hebron High School, which was mentioned tonight, was also one of the featured parts of the presentation. We also worked with our partnership committee. This committee was formed earlier this year, and this is, I believe, their third or fourth meeting. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we will have another meeting in January. This group is charged with putting together a design for how we can strengthen our working relationships with our business community. And they will be bringing back the results of their work later on this spring to the board. Another area that we've been working very hard on, and you did see a sample of the work product, is from our branding committee. Last month you received a folder with the work that they had accomplished to this point. Very shortly, the 2 designs that you saw for your review last month will go out to the public, and the public will vote on the logo that the public would like to see represent Lewisville ISD. And for the audience, if you do not know what we're doing, it's the current design that we have here on the walls will be changing to reflect our strategic design work. And we will be back in February to share with you the results of that work. The last activity that we worked on for the month of December was a professional learning for our district design group, in January. And we had the members, and we fondly call them our JV All-Star team, made up of our second tier of leadership, went to Austin to focus in a retreat-like setting to put together plans on how campuses can roll out high-level, very strategic and focused professional learning for campuses. They received toolkits and also training on how to work with campuses and teachers. And that is the work for the month of December into the first week in January.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on, Dr. Burnett, future bond sales.
As we had talked to you about in the fall, that we had expected to have 2 sales this year, one in the fall and one in the spring, and we're preparing for our sale this spring, and we have Mr. John Martin with Southwest Securities who will give you some information about timelines, calendar, and our crystal ball with what we think the market will do.
Thank you, Dr. Burnett. Good evening, members of the board. Congratulations on Board Appreciation Month. That's a great thing. In your packet tonight, I believe you have a couple of calendars, and it might be a little bit confusing because they're actually two different sets of debt issuances. The first of which is there's the second blue bar, unlimited tax building bonds. That's the new money that's part of the voter authorization. And the other piece is the unlimited tax refunding bonds. As a result of interest rates declining so much, particularly towards the end of the calendar year, as you saw in your bond sale back in October, there's an opportunity for us to refund some bonds, and the reason it says Series A, B, and C is because there's a tax-exempt piece, even a taxable piece that we would have to do because some of the bonds are ineligible to be done on a tax-exempt basis under the Internal Revenue Code, and some of which would not be eligible for the permanent school fund guarantee because they weren't originally. So it's a fairly complex puzzle that we're trying to put together and just continuing to monitor. But we want to make you aware that we may be coming back to you with, a sizable refunding, or maybe a very small refunding, or maybe no refunding at all. But depending on where the market comes out by the time we get to the February 11th meeting. All that being said, the new money piece, which is the most interest to you and the kids in terms of being able to build facilities, we've submitted our permanent school fund application to TEA, and they take all those and group them together, and at the end of the month they only give awards once a month, and it's after the 15th business day, so we won't get notification from TEA for our permanent school fund guarantee, which makes the bonds AAA. Now we're AA plus, we could sell without, but AAA PSF bonds do sell a little bit better than a AA plus, even though that's an outstanding underlying rating. So we would look to sell the new money piece later in February and hope to come with the refunding, be ready to go, assuming y'all's approval on February 11th. So it's, like I said, it's a fairly complex puzzle that we could go into a lot of detail if you'd like. But if not, we'll be back to you February 11th with some pretty good detail. Any questions?
I think we're all set. No questions? Nope. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Okay, moving on to discussion items. Monthly financial, bond report, quarterly investment report, and new construction report. Dr. Burnett.
You have our financial reports from the end of November, as well as the bond report and our quarterly investment report, as well as the report on the activities of our new construction.
Anybody have any questions? I have one question. The early childhood LEP SS, it's 289 under the budget expenditure and summary unaudited. Just out of curiosity, there's been no expenditures in that yet? Or does it all come in one end of the year or something like that? It's right after junior RTC.
I believe we have not received that money yet. It's a budget item, and we'll receive it later in the year.
Okay, same for the Student Success Initiative, too? Yeah, that money always comes in later. Just what I thought, but I just... Well, it's... Okay. All right. Anybody have any other questions? Construction report, anything? No? Okay. Moving on to administrative software package. Dr. Burnett.
We had discussed this with you initially in November about the need for a upgrade to our business software solutions, and Mr. Martin, with the Director of Purchasing, has put together an internal committee of our user groups, which is across the division lines, to study the what's out there. And we have received and had site visits with 4 companies, and they've made presentations to us, and we're still in ongoing visiting with school districts that have the software packages, and we're close to making a recommendation, but we'll make one at the February meeting. The issue with administrative software is the lead time that we have to transition from the old system to the new system, and it also requires a interim period where we run dual systems. So there's a lot of staff work involved in making a change.
Any questions?
If we're not sure what exactly the software package will entail, does that mean we'll put it back on the discussion agenda next month?
No, sir. We have one apparent bidder that we are considering seriously, but we're still making site visits so we can understand exactly all the capabilities and what it does and how it affects different departments.
When you say site visits, you're actually visiting other school districts that have this application in production today?
Yes, ma'am. We're actually going to school districts to see how it works. We're matching up with like departments. Sorry, say it again. Yes, that's part of our due diligence.
Then what is the overlap? Because I assume, or maybe I'm assuming incorrectly, when we have one that we're going to be using and transitioning to another, there's going to be a cost overlay for both of these? So what's the transition period? Well, we haven't finally decided on what the date will be. We have two natural dates, and that is either January the 1st or at the end of our fiscal year. So it's if we make the selection now, we think that a best scenario would be to make the transition probably around January the 1st of next year.
And then how
Would
long?
mean we'd be operating a dual system in the fall.
Okay. Any more questions before we go on? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to action items. Consider approval of TASB Policy Update 95. Dr. Haynes.
Madam Chair, the action is for your approval.
So I need a motion. Anybody? Motion, Ms. Latham. Second, Ms. Duke. Any questions? Okay, all in favor? That is unanimous. I need a motion to consider approval of reallocation of 2008 bond funds. Move Mr. McDaniel, second Ms. Sheffield. Any discussion? Ms. Latham?
I just think that, Mr. McDaniel, since you made the motion, maybe you should give a quick synopsis of what this is about.
Throw me under the bus there, but it's reallocating to some new schools, and Dr. Waddell can speak to this much better than I can.
Okay, that was so good.
I'll be happy to. We had a board workshop on this in the fall and discussed where we were, given the fact that construction had slowed down a little bit with the recession, and therefore we looked at demographic studies, as well as the fact that we had a facilities committee that of citizens and staff that met for some time, who made recommendations in conjunction with our architect. It was a very thorough assessment of all of our facilities. We had a good workshop in the fall, and based on that discussion and looking at the needs from the facilities committee, it was determined to replace both Kamey and Griffin, Kamey Elementary and Griffin Middle School in the colony. Also, there already was a commitment to technology. We're doing a lot of work in technology in the district, both in terms of our infrastructure as well as major rollouts to the classroom and wireless capabilities in every one of our classrooms by August of this year. So we maintain that allocation. And then also based on the facilities report, the board decided to work on the highest priorities for renovation work in the district, and so they allocated, you allocated $55.3 million to that. So what we're doing is we're basically, this is just giving you an opportunity to put into action what you agreed to do in coming out of the workshop.
Ms. Latham, did we answer that all right?
Yes,
Correctly?
thank you, Mr. McDaniel, for explaining that to the public, what we were reallocating and why. Appreciate it.
Are we all set now? We ready for the vote? All in favor? That is unanimous. I need a motion to consider approval of Board Policy BE Local, Board Meetings, and BDB Local Internal Committees.
So moved.
Motion, Ms. Fowdy. Second, Ms. Duke. Discussion? No discussion? No questions? Okay. Ready for the vote? All in favor? That is unanimous. I need a motion to consider approval of Board Policy FDB Local, Admissions, Intra-District Transfers, and Classroom Assignments.
I'm sorry.
Was that a motion? Oh, sorry.
That was bad.
Aw. Motion, Ms. Latham.
Yes, with the exception, I would like to make a motion that we accept the policy, amending it to allow the 4th and 7th graders in the rezoning section of the policy. I know in our last meeting, district policy, I'm trying to read and talk at the same time. In our last meeting, they had talked about, well, the board can, decide that at every turn. But if we're rewriting the policy, I kind of agreed with what Ms. Chauvin said. Why don't we just add it into the policy if it's not that big a deal? So I make my motion to approve the policy with the amendment that rezoning would grandfather 4th and 7th grades. Makes sense?
How about if we say with the addition, because it's not an amended policy. It's not an amendment yet because we haven't made the motion. So if you just say with the addition to.
Oh, with the addition, thank you.
Okay. Okay, yeah, so I need a second on that? A second, Mr. McDaniel?
Okay.
Okay.
I've got a question.
Okay.
on that. Can I ask?
Yes.
Is it my turn? Okay. Why do we need that amendment to it when, right now with our district, we're much easier to get transfers. So we grandfather, yes, but we also allow transfers if the schools aren't overcrowded. And what my fear is, for one reboundary, it might work, but for another, what if we have a huge class that's the 4th or the 7th graders, and then we're doing all this rezoning, redistricting, which we all know is so much fun, and yet the majority of the students are still staying because we've put it in this policy. Why can't we just keep it with our internal transfer requests? That's just my thought.
Well, I think if I'm correct, when we look at doing, who's in charge of rezoning? Where did Tommy go? Oh, sorry. Dr. Rogers, when we look at rezoning, do we not know that 2 or 3, 4 years ahead of time, but we don't bring it before the board until the school year before we actually need to make that boundary change?
Certainly adding 4th and 7th graders would require us, which is not a bad thing, but would require us to plan a little further ahead. The, administration, we try to look at the numbers, project those numbers. As the last time that the board considered a rezoning last year, the policy was just 5th and 8th graders, but you as a board decided to extend that to 4th and 7th graders. So certainly we'll follow your recommendation.
I have an opinion on this. I understand Ms. Chauvin's position on it, and philosophically we probably agree. I know where she's coming from on this. However, I would probably prefer more flexibility and not go with that stipulation, because you start painting yourself in a corner. I've never done I can't remember ever doing a rezoning where we didn't do grandfathering. I think it's a good good plan. And where it can be done, I think you ought to do it. But you have every single rezoning situation that comes up is different. And you never know what you may run onto, what the logistics of that rezoning are. Generally, the grandfathering is to soften the effects of a rezoning situation, and therefore it's generally a good idea. But whether it's 1 grade or 2 or 3 is going to change, and there's going to be a number of variables that affect that. And sometimes it's going to be capacity. And so I think that's a fluid thing, and I can't see it being one in which we say we don't want to grandfather people, but rather we look at what the facts are in terms of meeting our needs, in terms of relieving a campus of overcrowding, or whatever the objective is. It's generally that. Sometimes it's other factors. But you always have the capability of adding more classes on. It could even go beyond that suggestion. You might end up grandfathering more than that, say a whole boundary change. It could affect an entire school. That's always possible. If you stipulate it's just this, then you may not be able to grandfather more, or you may not want to grandfather that much. I think the intent here and how we practice as administration, I think what Ms. Chauvin's wanting to make available to people and what you are in the amendment, I think we're all in agreement on that, but I think this board and future boards would be better off if you could leave yourself some flexibility to deal with the special circumstances that come about with every single zoning that you do.
Ms. Latham?
Well, I was just going to say, following that, Dr. Waddell, and I understand your logic also, but should we take out that we would even grandfather grade 5 and 8 so that we are painting our, like you said, what if we had to rezone a whole school?
Well, my view is it's not necessary to mention a grade. I don't know the history on that, Dr. Rogers. You might want to elaborate on that a little bit.
Yes, sir. The rationale behind that policy, and of course I've only had the pleasure to deal with rezoning for the last year or so, but long before that, the rationale was here are students that have been in a school for 4 years, and it certainly would, be difficult to move them for the last year of that time, or as in middle school they've been there for 2 years, and then all of a sudden rezoning needs to occur, but you don't let those students stay.
I would say it's more typical that those grade levels would be the ones that be grandfathered. But I think it's wise for the administration and board to keep flexibility, and if you keep adding grades, I think the inference is going to be in the community that this is what you said you're going to do. You don't do more or less. Otherwise, why include more than 1 year of grandfathering in your policy?
And this the grades that we put in this policy or don't put in this policy are arbitrary anyway, because they're not binding to any future board. So we can choose, this board can choose to change that, on a monthly basis or even on an individual basis for a particular school opening. So there's really nothing set in stone either way we go about it.
Yes, sir, Mr. McDaniel, and actually your group as a board did that last year with the rezoning in the Castle Hills area.
Well, you just got on the board last year. No, actually the year before. But anyways, okay. I like having, I go along with Dr. Waddell on that. I like to be able to customize each rezoning instead of being glued into a specific rule. I prefer to be able to look at each rezoning individually, because it involves a different situation, whether it's a brand new school opening up or having just rezone an established school that's already there. Because, like, for instance, I know Lakeland right now has over, 850 kids or something like that, but there are no new buildings in the area. So that's something that you might want to look at real quick in order to relieve if there's room someplace else. So we might not actually be able to, have a long term. So, but as far as I'm concerned, I would go with the 5 and 8 because traditionally we have always let the 5th and the 8th graders incoming stay for the following year to finish up their career at that middle school or the elementary school. But as far as including any more like that, I think we just need to let that be customized to each different rezoning because they are an interesting part of the year. So anybody else have anything else?
Just to add to my question, I agree because I hate for us to put stipulations, and I don't want us to have to change a policy every single year, even if we're a whole different board. You want to have as stable a policy for the administration to work with, because if they're going to plan ahead, then they need to know what the policy is so they can plan ahead. While I understand the desire to know that the 4th and 7th graders could go to stay at their school, I think we're a very open-minded district, and I think our administrators listen to those needs and our principals do. So I feel more comfortable just keeping it with the 5th and the 8th grade.
I agree with Dr. Waddell and Ms. Duke.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion on the table. Yeah, Mr. McDaniel? Yes. Made by, again, we discussed it, yes. So Ms. Arnold, do you have that? Do you want to read that so that everybody's clarified on what the motion was? Or it's just with the addition of the 4th and the 7th grades, right? Okay, so that's the motion we have on the table. Everybody ready? All in favor? That is Ms. Latham in favor. All those opposed? That is everyone else. Just want me to read them off. Okay, so we still need a motion to consider the board policy as proposed by the administration.
I move to consider approval of board policy FDB, local admissions, interdistrict transfers, and classroom assignments.
Motion, Ms. Fowdy. Second, Ms. Sheffield. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you very much. Moving on to, I need a motion to consider approval of board policy CW local, new facilities. Motion, please. Motion, Ms. Latham. Second, Ms. Duke. Any discussion? I'll give you a minute to refamiliarize it.
So the notable changes in this are, because we don't have standing board committees anymore, we can appoint a special committee, but we're changing that language.
Yes.
And making it more general. And in the case where we had a board member who moved out of district and we're at 6 members instead of 7, we are not as specific with a number. We're just saying all board members and striking the 7 so that we can vote.
Correct.
Ms. Fowdy, you are correct, and the only other notable change is when you name a facility for a person. That was a notable change, too.
Yeah, the second bullet, the person has to be a distinguished district employee at least 10 years, worked in education at least 30, and is retired and attained the age of 80 or deceased.
I think I'd rather be 80. better than the alternative. Any discussion or questions regarding this? Seeing none, all in favor? That is unanimous. Moving on, I need a motion to consider approval of board policy DED local, compensation and benefits, vacation and holidays. Need a motion?
Was this proposed policy number 2?
Well, yeah, I was going to make the motion. Ms. Kyer, I propose that we approve the proposed policy number 2 with the change of a typographical error in the second paragraph of the policy, which should have been in our board packet, but it read wrong, beginning on July 1st, 2013. It's been corrected on the copy that you were given tonight. So my proposal is, or my motion is to approve DED local policy option number 2 with the change of the date in paragraph 2.
Okay, motionless, Ms. Latham, second, Mr. McDaniel. Discussion?
Speaking for the administration, our recommendation was to approve the current policy with obviously implementation language, but actually we don't have a bias here. So, we explained in the previous 2 meetings where we stood. We didn't want to create a special class of people, and we wanted to control costs. We feel like either one of these do. So, we're not uncomfortable with any way the board wants to go on this.
Correct, and I think the verbiage on this policy was changed so that we didn't create a special class of people. It includes all employees with a 12-month contract that have been with the district at least 15 years.
That's correct.
Any other questions? Mr. McDaniel? You want to explain it? No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. You really will. Anybody else? Any questions, concerns? Okay, ready for the vote? All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you very much for your hard work on that one. I need a motion to consider approval of 2013-14 academic calendar.
Ms. Kyer, I make a motion that we approve I just forgot which one it was. Wait a minute. Option A. Sorry.
Motion, Ms. Dew, for option A, okay. Second? I just need to open a discussion. Okay, Ms. Sheffield. Okay, let the discussion begin. Well, Dr. Rogers, I know how much fun you have doing the calendar. Why option A was your recommendation, I believe, wasn't it?
Yes, Ms. Kyer, option A was a recommendation of numerous groups, including the Academic Calendar Committee. It was taken and approved by the Council of PTAs, by the District Decision-Making Committee, and there was input from the community of over 4,000 votes, and 80% of the community members gave us their input on option A.
Does anybody have any questions or concerns regarding this? Seeing none? All in favor? That is unanimous. And I need a motion to consider approval of legislative agenda.
So moved.
Motion, Ms. Foudy, second, Ms. Latham. Discussion? Anybody?
Where will we put this on our website? I mean, will it be in a place that is prominent so that people don't have to,
dig for it?
Dig? Mhm.
If you want it to be, it will.
I would like that very much.
Okay.
Front page, please.
We'll do that. Tristan's nodding her head, and we'll make sure this gets widely disseminated. And tomorrow we'll send it to our legislative delegation.
Which they will read back and front and in depth. And
Right. Well, just
exactly.
because it's one page.
I would like to say that I liked that it was one page, that it's very concise, and that we didn't overwhelm them with educational acronyms. Thank you.
Well, and I just think it's such a, it's just a great move for our district to have that so that we can all be on the same page and have those same talking points. I think that this is going to be a very interesting legislative session, and I hope that it encourages parents to, that they can use that piece to, when they're talking to their legislators or they're talking to their community members. I'm really excited about this because I think that, you know, we've reached a crucial point in education, and I think we need to really, just hopeful that we see some important changes take place in this next session. Any other comments? I'm very happy with it. Thank you for all your hard work in that. So we're ready for the vote? All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you very much for all your hard work in the legislative agenda.
Madam President?
Yes, Ms. Foudy?
I would like to take a moment for a point of privilege.
Granted.
I wasn't going to read this, but I will have to read. Most mornings I drive my 3 little ones to school, and we pull up to the curb, and they are so ecstatic to get to school. And every day it's the same. They open the door, and they dart into that building. It's love you, Mom, bye, they're gone. And not once have they ever looked back at me. And it used to bother me that they don't look back. But I realized that was a gift. I quickly realized that was a gift that their teachers and their principal and the campus staff give to me as a mother every day. And I know that the campus staff cannot do what they do without so many of you that are here at every one of our board meetings, and without the vision from Dr. Waddell and an outstanding structure for administration in our central offices. And being a mother is the most meaningful experience that I will have in this lifetime, but I want you to know that being a trustee has been and always will be right up there at the top for a meaningful experience for me as well. It is an honor to provide oversight for this district, and I want to thank the entire LISD community for this opportunity. I do regret to announce that I will not be seeking re-election in 2013 after a great deal of discussion with my family on where they need me most right now and reflection on where I can best serve LISD at this time. I'm going to step away from the seat, but please know that I am here and I am willing to serve LISD in any other capacity in which I may be needed as a community volunteer. It's been an honor to serve as a trustee with this team. An absolute delight to support Dr. Waddell as he transforms LISD from great to world class. And I'm confident in where you will all continue to take our community and our kids into the future. Thank you.
Well, Ms. Foudy knows that she will be sorely missed, but you still got about 5 months left, so buckle down, honey. You're staying for the rezoning. I'm sorry you can't get out of it. moving on. The consent agenda, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda? Well, yeah, I'm sorry, does anybody have to pull anything from the consent agenda before we move on to this? 2D. Anybody have anything else? Okay. I need a motion.
Ms. Kyer, I move that we approve the consent agenda items with the exception of item 2D.
First motion, Ms. Latham. Second, Ms. Duke. Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That is unanimous, and I need a motion to approve letter 2D.
Ms. Kyer, I make a motion that we approve consent agenda item number 2D.
Motion, Ms. Latham. Second, Ms. Duke. Any discussion?
Yeah, I just really wanted some additional information on that and how that differed from, in our October meeting, we had on our consent item the Schlechte Center, but it wasn't the standard bearer school district. So I was just curious of the difference, and if those monies that we had allocated at that time, is that part of this? Is just
Yes, ma'am. We're doing so much work with them. We felt it was better to just go ahead and join. We get some real considerations by doing that and price breaks. We believe we're going to continue working. The money we spent was rolled into this, so they worked that out with us on that.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That is unanimous. And the time is 8:32. And if there's no additional business, this meeting is adjourned. 8:32. All have a great month. Happy Martin Luther King Day.